Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, Laura.
So excited to get started today. I'm gonna go ahead and kick things off with like a really juicy question, as I like to call them. And then I will tell everybody who you are after that. Um, I think that it is very common for artists to kind of blend their personal life into their professional life a lot. And I think it happens both ways, really, your professional life back into your personal life too. And I think it happens because we're kind of more emotional, we're more in touch with our emotions, and so we have trouble leaving those at the door before we head into the other part of our life. And I think even for some people, for some artists, the emotional parts of their personal life are actually what creates their art. And so I wonder, from your perspective, do you have any tips for separating them to kind of stay a little bit more sane, or do you think that's even necessary at all, or do you think they should blend together?
Right. Well, my personal philosophy is finding the blend, and that you can really find the magic and the overlap between who you are and what you do. And that I think it's the resistance in trying to keep them separate that sometimes creates a lot of anxiety. And so maybe our energy should just be where we put it and leave it at that, right? Yeah. But at the same time, in my own life, I got my start as a blogger and then started doing branding and all of this stuff. And it was all because my readers who were reading my blog felt like they really knew me. And they do, because I'm really putting myself out there. Mm-hmm. So, for example, there's lots of graphic designers out there, but the people who were hiring me were hiring me for me, not just because of my graphic design skills. So that overlap and that blend between the personal and professional, I think, can really be good for our customer relationships and for letting us live what we love. But at the same time, more recently, and this is probably a little more juicy, but more recently I got pregnant. And so I'm 6 months pregnant now and have really found a need for separation in my life. So my sister and I own our business together, and we moved out of the home office and we got our own space. So having a dedicated place to go to work has been really good. So for artists, it might be having a dedicated studio or even a dedicated room in the house to work in. Some other tips for separation are just, stop checking your phone at night. If you're going to sit down and watch Breaking Bad, just watch Breaking Bad.
Yes.
Be done with the multitasking. So that's just really how I've maintained some separation in my life. Mm-hmm. And Laura, I know that you keep a really nice and tight calendar, and I do too. So I use my calendar a lot to schedule off time for me, mm-hmm. and to schedule off time for work.
So important, yeah. Definitely. I was talking with Kathleen about that, actually, and that is exactly what I do when it gets too full, when I see that there's not enough time for my personal. I just cap it and I say, okay, that's too much for me. And I mean, that limit's going to be different for everybody, for sure, but you have to be kind of self-aware, I think, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Well, that was a great answer. So today, I am here with Kathleen Shannon, who is the co-founder of Braid Creative. And Braid sort of encompasses the different aspects of branding and building a consistency in your business. But Kathleen, can you tell us more, in your words, what Braid is about?
Yeah, sure. So my company is called Braid Creative and Consulting, and I own it with my sister. So again, with that blend, we grew up together our whole lives, obviously, and now we work together. Now we're business partners. So that's a place where the blend is really beautiful between personal and professional. It creates this mm-hmm. shorthand where we can work together really succinctly and grow really quickly. But we do branding and business visioning for creative entrepreneurs. So what that means is that we're helping other creatives like designers, photographers, coaches, and sometimes product makers like jewelry makers or boutique owners, or sometimes even restaurant owners, really understand who they are and what they're doing, and find ways to leverage that personal brand within the professional. Who is our dream customer? We force all of our customers to narrow in on their niche.
Yes.
Niche or niche? Which do you say,
I say
Laura?
niche.
Do you say niche or niche?
I say niche. But everybody says it different. But niche is the way that I like to say it.
Niche.
Am I
So
pausing out on
anyway,
you? I think I was cutting out on you. Sorry about that. I think I was having a little techie snafu on my end.
Are you there? I hate that about Skyping and video conferencing. Anyway, so yeah, we help our creatives narrow in on their niche and really define their position and their messaging. But then we also create what I like to call the icing on the cake, which is the logo and that brand identity that really, from the inside out, represents people and who they are and what they do in their business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really great. I've seen a lot of the work that you've been doing through the eyes of your blog and your website, and I think it's very captivating because you really grab a hold of people's businesses and put them out into the world in a more refined, experienced way, so that people are getting like this normal consistency. They're feeling like this is like a person almost. You know, your business is almost like a person.
Yeah.
And they kind of they can understand and relate to the person, you know, which I think is a much more effective way to brand. I actually talked with someone else I interviewed maybe a couple weeks ago, Amy, and she does branding too. We were talking about how this experience is one of the most crucial things to your business, making sure that your customers come to you and they see something consistent, something that makes sense to them. If you're confusing them with all these different things going on, they can't identify with you, you know, they can't connect with you. So I think that the work that you're doing really plays into that, and really dovetails nicely with making sure that everyone's business makes sense, you know? Customers can get you.
Yeah, it really does. And that's part of the, you know, we're not just graphic designers who will create that logo. Uh-oh, are you there? I think we're breaking up.
Yeah.
Are you there?
I'm here. I think I'm having computer snafus. I'm going to go ahead and close out of more things. Little things I have open might be causing problems. You know how it is.
I so know how it is.
Okay. Let's see.
Anyway, what I was saying is that, what was I saying? Pregnancy brain.
Yes, that happens. Well, let me go ahead and jump in here with another question I wanted to ask you. Because I work with artists, and I think that a lot of times artists feel kind of embarrassed about their websites. You know, there's something about translating their aesthetic taste into their website or their online shop that doesn't mesh easily for them, so it kind of gets put on the back burner. You know, how their site looks and feels just kind of gets shoved aside. Do you think that it's possible to sell products well, even if you have kind of a less than ideal website?
Well, yes and no. I say yes because if you're an artist and you're creating a product or a painting or whatever it is that you make, I think that speaks for itself. So that is your content. But at the same time, I believe that you're not going to be very good at selling that content or that painting or that product or that jewelry if you don't feel confident with your website. If you feel like your website doesn't match who you are or the quality of the product that you're putting out, you're going to feel embarrassed and maybe not collaborate as much as you would or push your website as much as you could. So yeah, I think it's really important that really every aspect of you, online and offline, accurately and authentically depicts who you are.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think you're right about that, you tend to not, if you're not confident about what you're putting out there, you tend to not want to put it out there. And so you're less likely to promote yourself or even talk to people about you, you know. It's like handing out business cards, you know. If you don't like your business card, you're never going to hand it to anybody.
Exactly. And even like a website is probably like having a house that you really like. And so if your house isn't decorated the way that you want it, you're not going to have dinner parties.
Yeah.
And then you're missing out on all those great conversations over dinner.
Exactly. And who wants to never have another dinner party? Like, I love them. Yeah. So I love how your website kind of includes all those personal touches from you and your sister's lives, and I know your lives kind of sometimes cross and blend since you're working together, and I think that's really cool. So I love that that you do that, and I wanted to ask you more about that, but let me see. I got a little lost in my questions here, so I'm going to peek.
Oh, that's okay.
I wanted to ask something about that, and now I've forgotten. Oh, there it is. I wanted to ask about your team. That you and your sister run your business together, and it's like totally cool that you built this together. But I know that you had to build up some support in your business to kind of help you, and I wanted to see how that went for you. What was that process like?
Right. So my sister and I actually worked in advertising together before we decided to start Braid Creative. And I jumped off the corporate 9-to-5 job route first to go freelance. And about a year later, I talked my sister into joining me. I was like, come on in, the water's nice, you know. So she quit her job as a creative director, vice president, to join forces with me and start Braid Creative. So from the get-go, just having each other was really great. I call my sister the slow burn, and I'm kind of the hot spark. And so I might think of an idea, and then I can hand it off to her to really help me execute it.
I love that.
My sister is very methodical and logical. She's very all about the step-by-step and thinking things through. And then I'm definitely much more of the right brain creative. I've got the ideas, and I'll say, I want an e-course. All right, figure it out. So from the get-go, we've really complemented each other in that way. But then we did decide that we really needed some support for helping us with our own client deliverables and helping us with a lot of just the day-to-day. So we have 2 full-time designers on our staff who help us with a lot of our client work. I do a lot of the creative direction and oversight for them. My sister still does a lot of the copywriting. We're both very strategic in our meetings with our clients. So it is just having that support pulled in. And then, of course, we've hired an accountant to help us with our books. And we have an e-sales manager who works part-time for us on kind of a more retainer contract basis to help us manage our e-courses and the customer flow there. We'll routinely work with consultants who come in and talk to us about our business and how we're running things. And so kind of that continuing education is a big part of the component of the kind of support that we hire out. But yeah, having a team has been crucial to growth.
Yeah. So is it about like identifying where you guys are missing something, or where you're struggling to make it happen in a sense?
It was more like, what do I not like doing?
Yeah.
What is keeping my job from feeling less than dreamy is, manually plugging in each client into an e-course the best use of my time. No, the best use of my time is writing those blog posts. It's one-on-one coaching. It's having conversations like these. So it's really identifying what my core genius is and not being bogged down by all the busy work that makes us feel really productive at times, but can be a total time suck. And it can also make you feel overwhelmed and completely scattered.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's hiring out for that stuff. But also, our designers on our staff are really helping us with really stuff that's a lot of fun for them too. Trying to meet their needs and be good leaders and managers for them so that they're growing within their roles is really important for us too.
That's a really good point that you make, because a lot of people don't think about it. When they're hiring somebody, they think about what can this person do for me? And they don't really think about the fact that it should be an exchange. You know, you should be helping them as much as they're helping you. And it's not all about financially helping them. It's also about helping them grow and learn and get better at what they do, and become more valuable in their skill set. So I totally love that you do that.
And I've definitely passed the torch. I used to do a lot more hands-on graphic design, and I've passed on the torch to my designers, and I'm trying to make them better designers, and at the same time I'm trying to become a better creative director in the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's so on point. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about having a target market. And I know that, like, when you initially go to pick one, it can be really intimidating and feel really limiting. Like, you know, I can't even get people to purchase in the first place. You know, am I really going to limit it down to a smaller group of people? And I'd love to hear your take on picking that ideal customer and how you think that's useful in actually making you more sales and customers. Oh, I think we had a little stall there. I did want to hear what you think about that, what you think about picking an ideal customer.
Right. So, Laura, I made a little snap. Yeah, so a lot of people are afraid of narrowing in because it's going to exclude everybody else. But here's the deal, if everybody else isn't already buying your work or hiring you, what do you have to lose? So I think that whenever you can narrow in on your target audience and really find your tribe, they're going to come to your site or talk to you in person and know that you're for them. So you're narrowing your pool, but you're just going deeper. And the people that you want to be working with are going to recognize that you're for them, that they belong. Mm-hmm. So I think that, you know, one of my favorite books is Seth Godin's We Are All Weird. Have you read that one?
I haven't read it, but I've heard about it, yeah.
It's fascinating, and he talks about the bell curve in relation to media and television. And so if you think about back in the day, whenever there were 3 major network channels, all the advertisers were trying to get, you know, to the very top of the bell curve. But cable has kind of flattened everything out. So you can go to a television show about noodling for catfish and know, okay, those people want to buy my product, right? And still reach just as many people, if not more, because you're not trying to be everything to everybody. Mm-hmm. So definitely check out We Are All Weird by Seth Godin if you are interested in narrowing in but have a little bit of fear or anxiety around that. We also have to plug Braid, if you don't mind. We also have an e-course called Dream Customer Catching, and it's all about narrowing in and getting brave about that. I think that also whenever you find your dream customers, your job becomes a little bit more dreamy also, right?
I agree with that. Yeah.
How many times do you become an order taker or you're doing a job that you don't want to be doing just for money, and you're like, I might as well have a corporate job. I might as well be working for the man and at least pulling in a salary and having my evenings off.
Yeah.
Than to be doing what I'm doing right now. It can kind of make you feel like a hooker a little bit, I think.
Yeah. I think when you're working with the right person too, it lights you up. And so, you know, even with product things, you know, most of the people watching this are going to be artists. And even with them, when they're selling to the wrong people, then the conversations become really stilted, you know? It feels, you somehow know that it's not the right person, even if you're not going in depth with like a client call with them. You know, you still can kind of tell, you know, this person doesn't get me. This person isn't in it for what my values are and what I'm trying to convey to the world. They just liked this one piece, and it doesn't fulfill you inside, and so it feels more draining and more stressful working with these people, and even just in normal communication, telling them that you shipped the item, you know, they're more likely to come back at you with negativity and with problems than they are for it to go smoothly, and it can be it can be more draining. And if you're working with the right people, if you're targeting the right people and the right people are finding you, then things are a lot less draining, and things feel those people are lighting you up. They're making things feel good in your business, and then it becomes less stressful.
Absolutely right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I also feel like whenever you're working with more of your target audience, it allows you to hone in on your own core genius, and you become more of an expert, or you become known for a certain style that you really love producing. And you don't have to take on the stuff that you don't want to do.
Yes. Yes, for gosh sakes. Let's not have to do all that awful stuff. So if you're starting from nothing with your branding, you've done nothing. Like, you've got an Etsy shop and you don't even have a banner across the top of it. You've done nothing. What is the most important thing to worry about first? Like, the thing that you need to get up there before anything else, the most important thing?
Well, I think that knowing your vision and your higher purpose, so kind of what we were talking about previously, if you don't know what you're about, you're taking on work for anyone and you have a less than dreamy job all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So I think that the first thing is knowing your purpose, understanding your own mission and what you want. I think first and foremost, that is the bottom foundation of building a brand. And then from there, let's say it was an Etsy shop, I think good photography to really showcase your product, and I think that content is key, right? And so if your product is your content, you really need a way to showcase that. Mm-hmm. Again, I think that the logo and the brand identity are really nice, but again, I think that they're just really tools to make you feel more confident about what you're producing and making you feel like you finally have a look and feel, and maybe even words and messaging and positioning that actually reflect who you are. So yeah, I think it's a tiered approach, but I would say starting with what you want to be doing and then making sure that you're highlighting that and showcasing that. Mm-hmm. With really good photography. And neither, like, the photography thing, like, that's not even really what I do, but it's so important.
It is. It's crucial. If people connect a lot, especially with creative type of businesses. People connect through the imagery. And so if your imagery is shoddy, they feel like, I think internally they feel like you're shoddy. Like, you're not going to be professional, you're not going to produce good results, you're not going to give them a good product. And so you have to make that line up. I agree with you completely that product photography.
And the thing is that these days you can take a good photo with your iPhone, and with an app like VSCO, you don't have to get super fancy to have a good photo. And then beyond that, again, I think it's about your positioning and knowing who you're for, so that whenever they come across your page, they understand, oh, this person's for me. I want to buy from them.
Yeah, definitely. Positioning that with a very targeted, you know who your customer is, and so they can know that you're them right there. They're like, I see you, I know.
Exactly.
I think you're totally right. That makes complete sense. What else did I want to talk about? Let's see. We went after that. Customer service. That was what I definitely wanted to get to. I wanted to know, like, how you deal with in your business when you get a negative comment, or maybe a customer or client who's not incredibly happy, at least yet. What do you do to help turn that around and make that into a good experience for them?
Well, I hate to get braggy here, but I don't have any bummer, upset clients.
That's awesome.
I don't, and I think that it's because it's twofold. One is I know who I want to work for and who I don't. So again, narrowing in on my own niche and not taking on bad clients. Now, I do have to say that this has come from years of practice and going to some really awful meetings. So for example, one of my first clients with Braid was a lawyer, and he was developing a 401k retirement plan. I'm hoping he never sees this interview because he'll probably sue me. But he made me cry before we even got out of the contract phase. of
man.
like just, okay, here's the scope of services, here's how much it's going to cost. He made me cry over my contract. And so after that, I decided never work with lawyers ever again.
Yeah.
And I actually revised my contract to take out all of the legal jargon because my job has never come down to a lawsuit. So I really want my contract to outline expectations. So that's another thing, is outlining expectations from the get-go. Is so important in keeping me happy and keeping my clients happy.
Yeah.
I also had my sister and I, one of our first meetings at Braid was through a really good friend of ours. She was like, okay, I know this is going to sound crazy, but you guys should go. This used car salesman guy that I know needs a lot of help with his branding. And we were like, I don't know, used car salesman. So we go to this meeting, and this man talked for 2 hours about the integrity of his business, which was completely dishonest and shady. Yeah. And by the end of it, I thought I was going to throw up on the table in this meeting. I don't know if you've seen Sopranos, but like, is it like what's her face gets caught by the FBI and like throws up all over the table? Like, sorry for any spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen Sopranos, but that's how I felt. Like, I really felt sick to my stomach. And so it was through those processes of learning, okay, like old white men are not my target audience. Yeah. I need to be working with creatives. I need to be working with photographers, designers, people that I can have impact for, but people who also help me build the expertise that I want to build. Yeah. So, and then the other way that I keep my clients really happy is before we ever even work together, we see if we're a fit. And I make them, I not only want to inspire them with my blog content and the stuff that I'm sharing, like my gifts of knowledge, but I want to reassure them whenever they come to hire me that I'm an expert who is going to guide them step by step through a process. And so I do that by showing them what it looks and feels like to work with me. So that, again, is another way of setting expectations and letting people know really exactly what they're going to get. I also like to be really collaborative in the way that I work. And so I try not to be an egotistical designer who's like, no, you're going to have a logo with an X and a lightning bolt in it, because that's what I want to design this month. You know, it's not like that. I'm really trying to listen and hear what they're saying. And I do that through the Braid method process. And so we get there step by step together, and it builds just a lot of trust and a lot of enthusiastic approval. Yeah. Now, I will say that I have had some more like complicated customer flow interactions with our e-courses, just logistically, because there's so much technical stuff involved there, and a lot more people that it's a lot more to manage. And so I did hire an e-sales manager to help me manage a lot of that. So sometimes it's just making sure to hire the right kind of help. Yeah. So that's been huge.
Yeah, I think that would make a big difference in how many problems people have if they have somebody they can go to and say, you know, I know you're in charge of this, you know, this isn't working right, and then that person can be very focused on fixing it. And then, like you said earlier, like communicating from the very beginning the expectations, which I think is incredibly important. Like, put on your site, I mean, this is how it's going to go. This is when your order will be fulfilled. This is when things ship. This is what you can expect. And then people can't be upset if you've laid it out. Well, they still can, but for the most part, they won't be.
Right. Well, and that's, you know, that's a really good point too, because I love to support my local art community, and I recently had a dining room table custom built by these guys, and they were just really upfront saying, hey, this is going to take a while because it's just the two of us in our work shed, and this isn't even our full-time job, so it might take 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah. But they were so cool in the process, and like being really collaborative. I think, again, in being collaborative with your client while they're moving through the process. So whether they're getting a custom knit hat or commissioned painting or dining room table, letting people in on it makes them feel a part of the process. And so if a deadline needs to be pushed back, they understand why. So even these guys I was working with, one of them ended up going to a festival over the weekend, and he's like, I'm going to a music festival. And so he was honest, and I'm cool with getting my dining room table a week later so that he can go out and enjoy himself. You know, it's just not a big deal. And now I have a beautiful dining room table, and I have new friends out of the deal. So I'm not saying that you should become best friends with all of your clients, but I think that open line of communication really helps.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I had a similar thing happen, but it happened the wrong way. I commissioned somebody to put together a coffee table and a desk that matched for our living room, and the guy was very not communicative. He wasn't in touch with me, and of course then when things when one piece of it arrived and the other piece didn't, and when things didn't quite line up right, or like the table legs weren't leaving the table even, you know, when things like that happened and I had to go to him and say this isn't quite right, I came at it from a much more hostile position, because he hadn't told me when to expect the order to arrive, and it was longer than I had kind of thought it probably would have been, you know, and if he had just said right from the start, this is when it's going to arrive, I would have had a positive experience with him, you know, in my head going into, oh, this problem arose, you know, and I would have wanted to solve it in a much more positive way. I would have come at it less hostile than I did, because the only experience I had with him was in my head, was me saying, you know, this hasn't gone right, like, you know, and that's only in my head, and how, you know, he has to bring to the table his own experience and his own personality and help make things feel good to me. You know, he has to say, this is what's going on, and then that helps me feel at ease. So it's funny that we both had tables done, but mine was like funny. Total opposite.
Well, and the thing is that, you know, as an artist and working with artists, and your brain does not want to be worrying about all the logistics and all the administrative stuff. So I think it's that if you can understand your process and how you work, and just be clear about that, and not try and fit the needs of your client necessarily, but tell them, like, you are the captain of the ship. Like, that's what I want to tell every artist out there. You are the captain of the ship. And so if everyone's getting on your ship and you're like, I don't know about to drive this boat, they're not going to feel very comfortable or secure with you. But if they get on the ship and you're like, I got this, y'all, and then things go awry, your crew is still going to, like, totally trust you that you've got it under control. So
yeah, you've already told them I can handle it, you know, if something happens, I can take care of it, and then they're I get
so
that.
I think there might be a confidence issue too. Like, I think that whenever customer relationships go awry, it's a lack of confidence on your part, because you might not feel like you know what you're doing, and you're just being a completely reactionary instead of proactive.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this is the last question I definitely wanted to get to. That if you're looking to create kind of a big influx of art-loving customers, or, you know, since most people on the call are artists here, what step can you take that's going to really create people right away, even if you feel like your business might not quite be ready yet or whatever? You know, what can you do right now that'll make a difference in bringing you customers?
Right. I would say hit publish. I would say produce, hit publish, put your stuff out there, put it up on Etsy, even if it's not. The thing is that your content is never complete. Your products are always going to be evolving. Your personal style is always going to be evolving. There is never, like, the end goal. That doesn't exist. So I think it's about doing what you're doing right now and putting it out there. You've got to capture, shape, and share. And if you're not sharing it, nobody's going to see it. So it doesn't have to be perfect, I guess, is what my biggest advice would be. And just get that Etsy shop up. You don't even need your own website these days.
So true.
You know, and then I think that blogging is a huge way of getting out there. And so collaborating, blogging, photographing your work, sharing your process is huge. And I know that a lot of artists are really guarded about how they work sometimes. But I think that if you can kind of let people in, like a little peek behind the curtain, that goes a long way in building trust with your customers and kind of building up that tribe. And then commenting on other blogs, finding your people, getting together at conferences or even over coffee. Just getting out there, share as much as you can, just put as much as you can out there, and it doesn't have to be perfect.
You're so right. You're so right about that. When you hide in your little hole because you're nervous about things, it's never going to happen for you. You have to get out into the world, and you have to meet people, and you have to show your work. And if you don't do that, then nothing's going to happen. You know, if people don't know about you, people can't buy from you. So yeah, you have to show it off. Yeah, I hear you. Well, Kathleen, where can we find you online?
Okay, so I'm at braidcreative.com. You can also take our e-courses at ecourse.braidcreative.com, and we have e-courses on dream customer catching, shaping up your content. So if you are curious about blogging, but maybe have too many ideas and don't know where to start, that one's a really good one. And then we also have one on personal branding, so blending who you are with what you do. So that you can take any of those e-courses. They rotate out monthly. And then finally, you can also find me at andkathleen.com, which is my own personal blog, where I blog about my own creative journey and adventures in life in general.
And lately, pregnancy. I've been following your blogs, and lately you've written so much about your journey in just being pregnant, and it's really actually interesting. I've never been pregnant, and I'm not right now, but I found it still really interesting. I
have found that a lot of people have been saying that, and I think it's because I feel like I'm not like pregnant Earth Mama, and I didn't even know if I wanted to have children or not. So I feel like I'm writing about this pregnancy through the eyes of a child-free by choice kind of person.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
So I think it's relatable to a lot of people that maybe never want to have kids, or maybe want to wait a few years down the road. But it's a human experience that's really fun to talk about.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So I'll throw up those links for everybody so they can check you out. And thank you so much for talking with us about all this different stuff. And I'll try to have this up pretty soon for everybody. Yeah?
It was so nice to meet you, Laura, and it was really fun chatting with you today.